Have you seen what they've done to your song?
In 1983, Shirley Caesar tied the knot with her soulmate. 3 decades later, she endured his passing, and her world shattered. Her stepkids turned hostile in a fierce inheritance dispute. Bogus tales of her demise circulated on the internet. Even her blood relatives charged her with exploiting their mom's suffering for celebrity status. The lady who donated 3/4 of her income to aid folks couldn't secure tranquility for her own life. Her deepest sorrow wasn't the loss of her singing talent. It was the fracture in her kin. Shirley Caesar entered the world on October 13, 1938, in Durham, North Carolina. She ranked as the 10th among 13 offspring. Her household struggled with extreme poverty, scarcely affording meals, attire, or room. Her dad, James Caesar, toiled extended shifts at a tobacco plant and performed on weekends with a spiritual ensemble named the Just Come Four. He gained local fame for his profound sacred tone. Yet, regardless of his melodies, the funds fell short for a residence teeming with 8 daughters and 5 sons. Shirley's mom, Hallie, suffered partial impairment. Still, she managed to nourish all 13 kids with minimal resources. Shirley matured understanding that endurance didn't involve luxury. It centered on self-denial and resilience. A drastic shift occurred in 1945. Shirley, merely 7, witnessed her father's abrupt fall from a cerebral episode. He perished instantly, marking the abrupt close of her youthful innocence. Lacking earnings and facing 13 dependents, Shirley sensed an obligation. She resolved to perform in sanctuaries to generate revenue. At a tender 7, she emerged as the family's pillar. No opportunity for tears, no space for mourning. Her vocal ability transformed into her livelihood, her survival mechanism. Nobody allowed her recovery period. Rather, she rose and commenced belting tunes to prevent her loved ones from hunger. By 10, Shirley rattled chapel foundations with her robust lower-range vocals. Folks dubbed her Infant Shirley, not due to stature, but her youthful, pure appearance. She perched on crates to gain visibility. However, her performances evoked tears from mature males. At 14, she lacked a fixed abode. She journeyed solo through the segregated southern states, enduring nights in divided transit hubs, gripping a soda and sandwich from her mother. Certain ministers compensated her $50 for week-long renditions, then retained substantial sums. Yet she persisted, tapping rhythms, swaying audiences, converting each show into a sonic eruption. That timbre represented her sole asset. Her mother's condition deteriorated progressively. Hallie's immobile limb rendered her unable to ambulate unaided. At 12, Shirley assumed full responsibility for her mom's care. She assisted with dressing, mobility, and continued sanctuary performances to maintain utilities. This routine endured over 3 decades. Even post-stardom, she avoided hiring assistants. Shirley handled all duties personally. Her mother's agony fueled her drive. It fortified her, despite the emotional toll. In 1956, Shirley completed studies at Hillside High and pursued commerce in higher education. But an odd incident unfolded during a keyboard exam. She perceived a summons of her name. Inquiring if her peer had uttered it, the response was negative. Later, the summons recurred, amplified. It declared, "See, I have summoned you from your mother's belly, and I have blessed your mouth to proclaim this sacred message." That utterance rattled her profoundly. She abandoned academia promptly. Instructors expressed astonishment. Relatives failed to comprehend, but Shirley recognized this summons originated divinely, not earthly. On August 15, 1958, at 19, Shirley integrated with the Caravans, a premier sacred music troupe in the nation. She approached Albertina Walker audaciously, asserting proficiency in all vocal roles, and demonstrated it. Her onstage vigor stunned observers. She didn't merely vocalize. She gestured, twirled, wept. Her approach shattered conventional sacred norms. In her debut studio taping on December 30th, 1958, technicians marveled at her vocal intensity. The Caravans surged in popularity, vending over 50,000 discs that year. Yet amid triumphs, Shirley endured bus slumbers and meal skips. She had already captured her initial track in 1951 at 13, titled "I'd Rather Have Jesus," but distributors dismissed it, citing her youthfulness for grasping anguish, so she marketed it independently. Traversing the Carolinas alongside a disabled cleric, she entertained in sheds and modest chapels, garnering $5 to $15 maximally. The disc moved under 1,000 units. Shirley contemplated surrender, but refrained. From 1958 to 1966, Shirley roamed with the Caravans throughout the profound South. They executed over 300 spectacles annually, majority of locations in forced separation. Pale sacred ensembles earned up to 800 per event. The Caravans received 150. In 1963, Birmingham, Alabama, denied them lodging at 17 inns, forcing bus overnight stays. In Mississippi and Georgia, she observed authorities deploying water cannons on ebony crowds. Once in Montgomery, projectiles hurled during a presentation. Shirley infused these experiences into her compositions. Her melodies evolved into veiled signals for equality struggles. Her timbre served as an instrument of optimism. But by 1966, Shirley reached her limit, earning merely $75 weekly, while masculine vocalists quintupled that. She requested Albertina Walker for enhanced authority and equitable compensation. Albertina declined, even rejecting a $100 raise and 5% residuals, prompting Shirley's departure. Advisors cautioned against it. Publications forecasted downfall. Industry leaders asserted solo failure without a collective. Even Mahalia Jackson advised against independence, but Shirley ignored. She inked with Hob Records for $50,000, the largest pact for an African-American female sacred performer then. In 1967, she unveiled her debut solo collection, My Testimony. It shifted 15,000 units yearly. Reviewers puzzled over it. The track's raw and anguished. She vocalized on destitution, discrimination, faith erosion. Some deemed it overly intimate. A periodical labeled it insufficiently devout, but Shirley disregarded. She conveyed authenticity, and listeners resonated. Her candor cultivated a novel sacred following. In 1969, she collaborated anew with Reverend James Cleveland. Amid a worship gathering, they spontaneously crafted a full composition on stage. The assembly sensed seismic vibrations. That capture emerged as a monumental live sacred compilation historically. Cleveland, having partnered with Aretha Franklin, noted Shirley's uniqueness. Her sermonizing and vocalizing intertwined seamlessly. Yet post all, the sacred realm persisted in inequity. She garnered 30 to 40% less than males. Creators urged moderation. Agreements mandated masculine endorsement pre-release. Advertisements emphasized appearance over acoustics. Events tagged her as featured rather than principal, despite drawing crowds. But she endured. She never halted. Upon her initial Grammy nod in 1969, victory seemed assured, but defeat ensued. Decades later, ballot tampering revealed. A rival's handler influenced the panel with financial stakes. Shirley triumphed in 1971, but harm persisted. Truth surfaced in 2020. The Grammy framework overhauled in 2021 due to such controversies. Also in 1969, she featured on the Mike Douglas program. Typical invitees jested or crooned gently, but Shirley unleashed full sacred fervor. She belted, exclaimed, wielded her percussion. Communication channels erupted. Network received over 3,000 inquiries swiftly. Some irate, others astounded. It marked many pale spectators' initial exposure to ebony worship potency, unsettling them. In 1972, an unforeseen event altered Shirley Caesar's existence. She taped "Put Your Hand in the Hand of the Man from Galilee," not her creation. Initially by and Murray in 1970, but Shirley's rendition infused spirit and zeal, securing a Grammy for Superior Soul Sacred Execution. Her premier Grammy. Rather than pure jubilation, the accolade ignited controversy. Numerous sacred purists raged. They accused her of commodifying holy tunes, claimed pop resemblance. But Shirley stood resolute. She affirmed divine service despite stylistic variance. That Grammy etched her as an early African-American sacred talent bridging to mainstream. Amid debates, it elevated her profile in Sacred and Beyond. Her Grammy address indelible. Amid pop and rhythm stars, she proclaimed, "Primarily, I thank the Lord." That straightforward declaration prompted reflection. Rare audacity in profane environs. While detractors griped over cover victory, Shirley's delivery undeniable. It signaled transition. Sacred music previously isolated. Now, Shirley dismantled barriers. 3 years onward, in 1975, Shirley ventured to West Africa. Encounters there imprinted profoundly. At an open-air event, over 250,000 attended her vocals. Many trekked days with scant sustenance for her. She unprepared for witness destitution. It stunned her. She likened it to her impoverished Jim Crow upbringing. On stage, she improvised supplications, incorporating unscripted verses on famine and woe. She ignored protocol, desired audience bonds. Yet the expedition fraught with issues. Earnings in local tender, challenging conversion. Once, her crew lacked repatriation funds. That journey transformed her, reshaped her spiritual outlook. Thereafter, she integrated worldwide impoverishment into domestic discourses. But Shirley's vocation transcended melodies. In 1969, she founded Shirley Caesar Outreach Ministries in Durham, triggered by a heart-wrenching instance. Enjoying Florida Thanksgiving feast, relishing abundance. Then news depicted famished Tennessee youths. Bloated bellies, akin to African sightings. Instantly, she vowed beyond vocalizing. Donated half concert proceeds for nourishment and housing initiatives. That decision nearly bankrupted her. Rejected public funds. Solely utilized show revenues. Occasionally borrowed against forthcoming gigs to sustain operations. Peers deemed her irrational, but she deemed it righteous. In late 1970s, Shirley astonished further. Collaborated with profane talents. Her 1978 release, Message for the People, fused sacred with groove. Infuriated clergy, but admirers adored. Sold over 1 million. Unprecedented for her. Revenues quadrupled. Soon, rhythm artists sought joint ventures. Sacred moguls acknowledged her efficacy. Granted expansive distribution. Even non-religious broadcasts aired her. Shirley pioneered, enabling successors. In 1983, Shirley wed Bishop Harold Ivory Williams. Aged 44. Ceremony grand, exceeding 100 attendants. Her band featured 9 gems, symbolizing spiritual endowments. Yet not universal joy. Followers assumed music retirement for clerical spouse role. Some alleged vocation abandonment. But she continued. They co-led a 2,500 congregant assembly in Raleigh. Monumental leap, committed to dual pursuits of vocals and sermons. From 1984 to 1986, Shirley secured consecutive Grammys, including with Al Green for Salem in 1985 and solo in 1986 for Martin. Sparked murmurs. Sacred circles whispered award manipulations. Some attributed fame over sanctity. Others viewed her as establishment darling. By then, 17 nominations, historic for sacred performers. Some labeled political, but Shirley progressed undeterred. No justifications, merely continued vocalizing. Wedding year, she nearly perished. Early 1983, tour vehicle skidded on frost. She fainted, glimpsed afterlife. Rescuers revived her. That ordeal inspired Jesus, I Love Calling Your Name. Evolved into premier American memorial anthem. Each rendition evoked accident recollections, not mere lyrics. Her endurance narrative. In 1985, another bold stance. Amid AIDS dread, her assembly embraced sufferers. Most sanctuaries muted or barred. Not Shirley. Ensured medical visits, burial aid, domicile support. Era when nearly half nation viewed AIDS as divine retribution. Parishioners threatened exodus. Some issued lethal warnings, but she remained steadfast. Declared, the Savior embraces all. From 1985 to 1989, assisted over 200 households discreetly. Never boasted. Simply acted. By 1989, Stellar Awards dubbed her decade's performer, but she nearly absented. Exhaustive travels ravaged her vocals. 150 annual spectacles plus sermons. Physicians detected growths on cords. Required injections for continuity. Live in Chicago, award contributor taped amid agony. Acceptance whisper barely audible, yet evoked sobs. At Nadir, she expressed gratitude divinely. In December 1991, unveiled He's Working It Out for You. 9 selections, 44 minutes. Topped sacred rankings, 95th on rhythm listings. Sacred genre evolving rapidly, yet surely spearheaded. Vocals robust, message unaltered. Avoided self-focus. Conveyed verity. In 1999, federal accolade, National Heritage Fellowship, 10,000 stipend, capital ceremony, apex honor for folk talents. Shirley eschewed discourses on bias or industry intrigue, but her attendance spoke volumes. Present as septuagenarian vocalist since 12, nationally revered. In 1996, Grammy performance with Whitney Houston and CeCe Winans. Rendered a city called Heaven Plus Sacred Medley. Whitney delving sacred origins, Shirley amplified her. Also taped He's All Over Me with Georgia Mass Choir. Beyond Melody. Intergenerational link. In 2016, Bizarre Phenomenon. 1988's Hold My Mule excerpt viralized. Mixer repurposed her enthusiastic provision enumeration. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lambs, rams, hogs, dogs, into You Name It challenge. Exploded digitally. Millions views, dances, parodies. Shirley, 78, cruising when informed. Youthful parishioner demonstrated.